The Endless Golf Podcast, brought to you by Toyota.
And welcome into another edition of the Endless Golf Podcast, presented by Toyota. It is winter at your Toyota dealer, so check out the reliable Camry, available with all-wheel drive. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And I have to say good morning to our guest, and that is Drew Forrester. Good morning, Drew. It's great to have you on the podcast.
You as well. The only negative about this is you're in Florida and I'm up here. But actually, today, as we're recording this, it's going to be 66. So I don't think the joke's on you, but at least we're going out and playing golf today. That's the good news.
That's a great thing, and I wish we were together on the golf course, and we've never done that, by the way, and that'd be a great thing that I would really enjoy. So let's make that happen sometime in 2023. What do you say?
Love it. Sorry about that. My phone rang. Of course, right on cue. As soon as we start, my phone rang. Yeah, let's do it. Let's tee it up. And, I've been watching you forever, and I've always been living vicariously through you as you're at the Eastern Shore playing all those great golf courses. So, I would love to do it.
Well, it sounds like a great time. I know we'd have a great time playing golf, that's for sure. But let's talk about your business and how you got started in the media business. You started, I think, with the Blast many, many years ago, and it kind of morphed into now you've got your own business now. So tell us how you got started.
Well, it's kind of crazy. I grew up in Glen Burnie, sports kid my whole life. Wanted to, like everybody in 1970 in Maryland, I wanted to be a baseball player. I wanted to be an Oriole, right? I went to all the games at Memorial Stadium, and not all the games, but was a regular.
Do that too.
Regular at Memorial Stadium. Wanted to be a baseball player my whole life, and then I don't know what happened, but I found hockey, and I just loved it. And I was better at hockey than I was at baseball. I was a good baseball player, but I was really, really good at hockey. And hockey, though, in Maryland was kind of limited at that time. I played down at Benfield Pines in Severna Park, and was good enough that a coach from Delaware came to see me play and offered me a scholarship. And back then, it was a robust $3,200 a year to go to Delaware. Wow. And my parents are like, "Man, that sounds like a great deal. If we don't have to fork over $3,200." Can you imagine now if your kids came home and said college is going to cost $3,200? You'd be doing backflips, right?
Yes, you'd sign them up right away.
Right.
Sure.
So I was going to go to Delaware to play hockey. In the fall of my senior year in high school, a coach called me and said, "I've got some bad news. They have just disbanded hockey as a scholarship sport at Delaware." And I kind of had nowhere to go, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I wanted to get into broadcasting. My real life goal, honestly, I wanted to be Ron Weber. I wanted to be the Capitals radio play-by-play guy. Like, if you would have said to me when I was 16 or 17, what do you want to do? I wanted to be Ron Weber. And so I enrolled at a broadcasting school in Baltimore, and funny enough, got to interview Ron Weber, which was an incredible highlight of my life at that time. And, school started in September, and I think in like the third or fourth week of September, a woman walked in and said, "I'm Mary Kopetsky. I'm with the Baltimore Blast. We're looking for 2 interns, one in the marketing department and one in the media department." And I had played soccer at Glen Burnie and loved it. And ironically, had been to a Blast game in 1980 one time and really thought the indoor game was cool. And I just raised my hand and said, "I'll do the media." And a kid next to me named Tom Cooper said, "I'll do the marketing." And we both went as interns. And my standing joke to this day is, when I first started as the intern, I would be the guy who would go across the street and fetch pizzas at lunch. And when I finished as the general manager in 1998, I was the guy who went across the street and fetched pizzas for everybody for lunch. So had a great career with the Blast, was there for 17 years. I was there really in the halcyon days of the league. I mean, we were drawing 12,000 a game because that's all the seats we had to fill. Cleveland was doing 18,000. St. Louis was doing 18,000. Games were on CBS. And it was really a wonderful time to be involved in it. And so I got out in 98, but it set me up really for the rest of my life. I think if not for that day when she walked in and me raising my hand, I believe a lot in God's providence. I don't know what would have happened, but now looking back, I just turned 60 a couple of weeks ago, but now that I look back on it, God put me in that spot that day for me to raise my hand.
And
And
that door opened.
yeah, and that door opened for me. Yep.
Well, it's pretty amazing. And then, of course, you went on to a great radio career. You've got your blog now that's doing great. You started your own business, but you were at WNST for a long time, and now you're on 105.7 The Fan, and that's a great opportunity. You've always done a great job there. You've been a Baltimore sports personality, and you've had your hand on the pulse of Baltimore sports for a number of years.
Well, thanks, Bobby. I did enjoy the radio for sure. I didn't know when I got into it. I got into it because I went on as the World Cup analyst, if you will, in 2002. The owner of the station said, "Hey, why don't you come on and talk about the World Cup with us for that month?" And I did it. And I would say the World Cup back then was beginning of June until the middle of July. And when I was finished, he said, "Hey, you might be pretty good at sports talk. Why don't you come in here and give it a shot?" And at first I was like, I don't know. I was doing some golf stuff then. I had an expo. I was running a golf expo at the fairgrounds. And I was kind of dabbling, starting to think a little bit about when I try to maybe play. I was at that time in my life, 99, 2000, 2001, by far was the best golf I played competitively. And I was, like a lot of people, kind of, tinkering around with the idea of trying to play professional. And that was late in my life. I was 40. So my mindset was senior golf. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I did it. So I took the radio job kind of on a lark. I honestly, I got into it thinking I'll do this for 6 months. And if I don't like it, I'll go do something else. And 12 years later, I did like it. I did enjoy it. It's way, way more taxing than people realize. People think it's like a dream job. Like, man, you get to go on the radio and talk about sports every day. It's hard to do well. It's not dissimilar to what you've done. Like, people just think, oh, Bobby gets to run around and play golf with people, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of work to it. And particularly when you take pride in it, you've got to really be invested in going to the games, following the teams, getting to know the players, getting to know the coaches. And, I think that in the end, it was a nice part of my life, like a 12-year run for me. I had opportunities to do stuff after that ended. My heart wasn't really in it all that much, honestly. I had some chances to get weekend shows and stuff, and just that wasn't for me. But the golf opportunity was definitely for me. And when Chuck Sapienza called me and said, "Hey, would you want to do a golf show?" I'm like, that's the only thing I want to do. Yes.
That's what I want to do my whole life, is play golf, right?
Right.
Well, it's amazing, and we'll get to the golf in our next segment, because you've got an amazing story, an amazing golf career. You're a great player, played in the 2021 U.S. Senior Open, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, let's talk about how you got started in your blog. You kind of went on your own and started the blog, and it's been very successful since you launched it.
Well, things happen, right, in your life that you don't plan for. My mom passed away when I was 24. I never thought that would happen, right? Like, things happen, and you just kind of adjust to them and figure out what you're going to do next. And the owner of the station came in one day and said, "Bang, bang, 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 bang. All you guys are gone." And I remember getting in my car. It was late August. I got in my car. I drove to Calvert Hall. I sat in the parking lot. I'm the golf coach at Calvert Hall. So I drove in there and sat in the parking lot. The football team was practicing. It was a warm day. I had the windows rolled down. I was 51 years old. And I remember saying, "Man, God, I have no idea what you have in store for me, but please, guide me and help me." And I just kind of sat there for 45 minutes. I called my wife. I told her what happened. She was way more upset than I was. And I just kind of sat there for a little while, and a friend of mine called me, named Tony Young. The word had already gotten out on the media and all that, and on Twitter. And he called me and said, "So what are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know, Tony. I just got fired 2 hours ago. I have no idea what I'm going to do."
I'm going to get a job.
Right. And I was fortunate in that I did have a contract with the radio station, and I wasn't going to be broke anytime soon, because I did have a contract that had to be honored. So I had a pretty nice period of time that I was going to get paid. So I wasn't in a rush to go do anything. And he said, "Meet me tonight, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to do next." I'm like, "Okay." And I went and met him at 5:00 at a Panera. And he said, "You're going to start your own website on Monday, and I'm going to run it for you. And you've got 48 hours to go find some sponsors."
Wow.
And I called my wife and I said, I just hired my first guy. She's like, you just got fired at 10 o'clock.
You're living proof that dreams do come true, because your
Right.
journey after that was pretty amazing. It's been pretty amazing. You've got an amazing life, and you've got an amazing golf life. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about Drew Forrester's golf life. And obviously we talked about his business, but the other things that he loves is golf. And we'll talk about that when we come back. So stay with us.
Awesome.
And now a word from our sponsor.
I love a good adventure, and my friends and family do too. So we all drive Toyotas. Tacomas for my rugged buds, and Corollas for my city crew. And I drive a RAV4 that I take camping, shopping, and basically everywhere else. We all picked our Toyotas because they're reliable and efficient and have amazing resale value, saving us money now and down the road, so we can make every day an adventure. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals and inventory. Toyota, let's go places.
And welcome back to the Endless Golf Podcast. And joining me is Drew Forrester from Drew's Morning Dish. And Drew, it's great to have you on the podcast. But it is winter here in Maryland, and it is winter at your Toyota dealer. So check out the Adventure Ready RAV4, available in all-wheel drive. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And Drew, let's go to the golf course, a place that I know you and I love and a lot of passion for. And let's talk about your golf journey, because you mentioned you went to Glen Burnie High School. You did not play golf. You played ice hockey and soccer, I believe.
Yep.
And somehow you got introduced to golf. And tell us what age and how your journey started.
Well, another great story. When I went to work for the Blast, I was there for a couple of years and got promoted to director of media relations. And Kenny Cooper came to me and said, young man, if you're going to be a media guy, you have to learn how to play golf. You have to go play golf with Jack Dawson and Vince Bagley. And those are the guys you've got to befriend, and you've got to learn how to play golf. And I'm like, okay. And I was 23 years old when I picked up my first golf club. And the thing that really two things really appealed to me about golf. A, it was hard. And I watched other people play it well, and I thought, man, I am terrible. I got to figure out how to be good like that. Kenny was a very good player. And the second thing I liked about it is it was something you could do yourself. I was an only child, and I spent a lot of time throwing baseballs off the wall at Glendale Elementary School and picking them up like Brooks Robinson. And I was not adverse to doing things on my own because I was an only child. And golf really appealed to me that way, that I could go to the golf course and practice and do things by myself and get better. And I didn't need someone else to do it. And so I kept playing, and I did what Kenny suggested. I played golf with all the media guys in town, John Bjorn, Vince Bagley, Jack Dawson. And the more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. And a friend of mine who played for the Blast named Rusty Troy, he and I on a June day in 1993 said, hey, let's play a golf tournament. That would be fun. And they had the Baltimore Pub Links at Mount Pleasant and Clifton Park. And we both played in that. That was my first tournament I ever played in.
Wow.
Shot 79, 77. Thought I was going to the Masters after that, right? And I played, and that was where I started competitive golf, was at Mount Pleasant.
So it's an amazing story where a guy who starts golf at 23 was able to qualify for the 2021 U.S. Senior Open. I mean, in your mind when you started playing, I'm sure that was never a dream. Like, it's not like you started playing golf as a kid. You started playing at 23. You figured, I'll pick this up, I'll meet some good people, I'll get pretty good at it, and I'll have a good time. When did you realize you were pretty good at this and you had a chance to be kind of special?
Well, I had a really nice year 2000. I won a big tournament in Hagerstown. I had won the Baltimore Public Links that same summer. I won that tournament in Hagerstown. The following summer, I won a tournament in Richmond, Virginia. And right around then, 2000, 2001, I started to feel like it isn't even like what you think. It's kind of what you feel as a golfer. I would go to these tournaments and think I was going to win. I mean, I didn't win a lot of them, but I would go there thinking, hey, I'm going to win this thing. So I won 3 or 4 times in like a 12-month span. And I think that really motivated me and got me to thinking, like, if I could get better, you got to be a little bit of a dreamer, I think, in golf. You got to be able to dream things bigger than you can even imagine them, right? And I would stand on greens at Mount Pleasant, and this is a really eerie, my hair stands up on the back of my neck. I used to stand at the green at Mount Pleasant with my buddy Greg Ruark, and we would putt. and we would say, like, this is for the US Open, like every kid does, right? And we would putts from 10 or 15 feet and try to make them and rib each other and trade dollar bills. And the putt that I made at Argyle to get into the US Senior Open was about a 16-foot putt, broke left to right. I am not a great left to right putter, but I stood over it and I said, you've made this putt a million times at Mount Pleasant. And I made it. And I made it. And I really do believe that reinforcement in my mind of making all those putts on the practice screen at 8:30 at night with Greg, I really think that had a lot to do with me making that putt.
That's a great story. And you shot 69 that day, correct?
Shot 69, got in a three-way playoff for one spot, played the best 4 holes of golf of my life in terms of ball striking. I hit the 18th hole there is very difficult at Argyle, especially for me because I don't hit it very far. And I hit driver 6-iron in regulation to 6 feet. I made the putt to get into the playoff. And then I hit a 6-iron to about 20 feet the first time around, 2-putted it. And then I hit it to about 15, 16 feet the second time and made it. So I just played those 4 holes. It was the best 4 holes of golf I probably ever played in my life, given what was at stake.
Well, from a guy who walked in his office one day and was told that, the door's now closed, another door opened for you. And that's pretty amazing. You get to play into 2021 at Omaha Country Club. And you told me a story about the practice round and experience that when you met Bernard Langer and what a gentleman he was. I'd like you to share that with
Yeah, it was incredible, Bobby. He, my friend of mine, Larry Moody from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Maryland, set that up for me to play with Bernhard. And he had just played the day before or the weekend before. He had just played in upstate New York, and he got in there. He got to Omaha late. I was already there. I got there Saturday. He got in there either late Sunday night or even maybe early Monday morning. But we played together for 2 days. He was incredible to play with and to share those 2 days with. Unbelievably detail oriented. He had things in his book from the previous time that the US Senior Open was at Omaha that he was using to try to prepare for this one. I really learned a lot about being detail oriented from him. And he said something to me on Wednesday that I wouldn't say changed my attitude, because I was just there to play and represent myself the best I could. I obviously I knew it was going to be a difficult golf course as soon as we started the practice rounds. But he said, "Are you having fun?" In his German, he goes, "Are you having fun this week?" And I said, "I'm having the greatest week of my life." He said, "I'm very envious of you because I come to these events and I can't have fun anymore because I have to win. And you should just go have fun." And when he said that to me, it was kind of like a light bulb moment. I'm like, man, he's exactly right. I should just go have fun. And that's what I did.
Amazing. That's not only a great lesson for someone like you who's playing in the first Senior US Open or a big tournament or whatever, but I think all golfers can take a lesson from that as well, because we all play with people who sometimes take the game too seriously. I remember one time I was playing kind of bad and I was playing with Dennis Winters. And Drew, I'm not a big practice guy. I don't hit balls. I don't, I just like to play. And I was playing pretty bad. And I think it was Dennis Winters said to me, he goes, it's probably from all that practicing you've been doing. So,
Right.
And I always say this too. I said, people won't remember how you play, but they will remember how you act. And I think that's very important on the golf course.
No doubt. And he was a terrific gentleman. I also had the opportunity to play on Wednesday with Retief Goosen, which was unbelievable because he hit it 70 yards by me on every drive. And my funny story about that, on the 16th hole there, it's a par 5 at Omaha. And my caddy was a Baltimore kid named Serge Hogue, who was also a great player who caddies at Seminole and Pine Valley. And he came in and caddied for me for the week. And so on the 16th hole, you walk back, the caddies kind of go out in four caddy, and the players all walk back and you go back on the tee. And I hit a really good drive there. Actually, I hit a good drive on that hole every day for some reason, but I had a really good drive there. And Goosen pumped one out there way past me. And he said, I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Or I'll be right there. And so I got out to my ball. And Serge goes, "I can't believe how far he hit that past you." And I'm like, "Hey, I know. It's been happening all day." And so he said, "When Goosen walks by, I want to measure how far he is." And so Goosen walks by and Serge starts counting the steps and he goes, 68. And I said, "Why didn't you just say 60? Why do you have to be like precisely 68? So I'm glad you didn't round it up to 70 at least. But
right.
Houston was awesome. I knew he was going to play well there. I think he finished third or fourth. Langer did too. Langer played great, which was amazing because his length off the tee, I would have never thought I mean, he's obviously a great player, but I thought lengthwise the golf course was going to hurt him. But I think he shot even par for 4 days, which was amazing. And, you know, I drove it very straight there. I hit 11 to 13 fairways the first day. I think I hit 9 of 13 the second day, and one I missed was really just off the fairway. I just didn't hit it far enough to compete. Like, and if there was one takeaway from that, and at 58 then, I wasn't about to go try to learn how to hit it 40 more yards. But if there was one takeaway from that, people always say, like, what'd you learn? I learned that I just don't hit it far enough to compete with those guys. Even at 50, 52, 55, they're still killing it off the tee. I played with Billy Andrade, who was my age, and I couldn't believe how far he hit the ball.
Well, isn't that the old story too, where the club professional or the businessman who, you know, was a really, really good golfer and had a successful, you know, business and played a lot of golf. And he goes, you know what, I made enough money. I think I'm going to go play on the senior tour. And he turns 50 and he goes out there and the guy looks at him and says, the only problem with that is there's a couple guys over there that just, you know, turned 50 and their names are, you know, Rory McIlroy or Dustin Johnson or whoever they may be when they get to be 50. So, you know, there's always somebody out there, and these guys do it for a living, and they're trained professionals. And Bernard Langer is a great example. That guy is a technician. I've had the opportunity to play Adios down here in South Florida, and he plays there and he practices there. And I can tell you that guy, you know, he puts a lot of work into his craft for sure.
Well, here's a great story. Everybody listening to this is a golfer and loves golf, I'm sure. And so this will tell you everything you need to know about how tuned in he is. He had, when we got to the second green, the first day, the second hole at Omaha is a downhill par 5. A lot of the longer players can kind of hit it in 2 shots. It's, by their standards, it's an easy hole. We walked up to the green, and I forget who else was with us that day. Might have actually been Harry Rudolph, who I wound up playing with in the tournament. But everybody threw golf balls around the putt, and Bernard came up to me and he said, you don't have to practice the front left pin location. Don't even bother putting there. And I'm like, okay. And he says, he takes out this book and he said, in 2013, the front pin location was used on Friday, and it yielded the most birdies in the field over the 72 holes. It played to a par of 4.81. They will not use that pin location this week, and they never used it.
Wow.
Isn't that unbelievable? That he sniffed that out and he knew it. And even though it was only 5 minutes of putting time in a practice round, he was going to use that 5 minutes somewhere else. And he was exactly right. They never used that front left pin location in 4 days.
Wow.
And he had all the data, and like, that blew my mind. I thought I was detail oriented, and I'm like, this is amateur night compared to Bernard Langer. So
well, that's pretty amazing. Now, so from the U.S. Open, you were playing in the senior U.S. Open, and then I know one of your other passions is coaching golf, and you've been coaching Calvert Hall golf for, I think, 13 years now, and I know you've really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It is my passion. I still love to play competitively, but I'm a realist now to the point that I know, hey, I need to play within my group of guys, right? I don't try to qualify for the U.S. Amateur anymore. I've seen enough of those kids. I've coached enough of them to know they're, you know, how far they hit it.
Yeah.
And I got no chance against them. So I'm realistic in where I am in my golfing life, and coaching now is where I really do get the most amount of enjoyment. I coach at Calvert Hall. I'm also part of the Maryland FCA golf program now. So Maryland Fellowship of Christian Athletes has started a golf division. So I'm coaching that as well. And the thing about Calvert Hall golf that I've really grown to love is kids are coming to Calvert Hall now to experience Calvert Hall and to be a student athlete, but I'm getting kids now that are coming to Calvert Hall because they want to play golf at Calvert Hall. This is where they want to start their formative golf. And I'm also seeing a lot of kids, Bobby, it's amazing. I'm seeing a lot of kids now who were really, really good soccer players when they were 12 or 13, or really, really good lacrosse players when they were 12 or 13, who are morphing over to golf, and their athleticism is so good that they pick up golf. I just had a kid 10 days ago that came out for one of our evaluations, and I didn't even know who he was. And very rarely is there somebody at Calvert Hall who's a good golfer, and I don't know who they are. That very rarely happens.
That's right.
And I said to this kid, I'm like, where'd you come from? And he's like, oh, I mean, I don't know. I played baseball for a year. And I said, yeah, but how long have you been playing golf? He said, I don't know, kind of like 2 years. I said, well, who taught you? He said, YouTube.
That's
And
amazing.
this
That's
kid's
amazing.
golf swing is very, very good. And he might not be a Calvert Hall golfer because it might be too late for him, but he'll be a club champion somewhere someday.
That's amazing.
And it's just athleticism. And they watch YouTube. I mean, that's the amazing thing.
Amazing. You can learn a golf swing. They cannot learn a golf swing if they watch my show. That's for sure. I got the ugliest swing forever. I didn't start playing golf till I was 29. And, so I kind of taught myself. I was a baseball player, obviously.
Right.
It's a little different swing, but, it's amazing. A lot of hockey players are good golfers. So it's interesting that you had a hockey background in high school, and then were able to become a really, really good, accomplished golfer. But that happens a lot. I mean, there's a lot of great hockey players that are good golfers now.
Well, it's funny. I have this will be, I started in 13. So this will be my 11th season. If you discount the COVID year, we didn't play. I've had 5 Calvert Hall varsity golfers on my golf team in my time. And I have one player now coming up who's a JV hockey player who will also be a varsity hockey player at some point and likely make my team. So there is a synergy to it. The leveraging move of a hockey strike is very similar to the leveraging move of a golf swing. They are very, very similar. It's funny. I played hockey left-handed. I'm trying to do a left-handed. I played hockey left-handed, and I swing the golf club right-handed. And baseball, I hit both from both sides of the plate. I could hit right-handed or left-handed. So it is kind of funny how many hockey players you see that are capable golfers right away. I mean, they kind of right out of the chute, they just know how to leverage the piece of equipment, whether or not it's a stick or a club.
Well, Drew, I got to say, it's been a great having a conversation with you today. I've learned a lot about you. It's been a great journey to say the least. You're the host, the owner of Drew's Morning Dish. It's a great blog. You're a Baltimore sports personality. You're an icon. You're a guy that a lot of golfers and a lot of people look up to, including a lot of your students at Calvert Hall and your golfers at Calvert Hall. So, you've done a great job.
You're making me blush now.
Well, it's true. I don't get to see you often. I don't talk to you often, but I know a lot of people that are connected to you, and they've never said a bad word about you. You've had a great journey, and you know what? It's well deserved. It really is well deserved. And I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you. I've been watching you forever too. And the Maryland Senior Amateur is at Glen Riddle in September. So you and I are going to Bruce Chris and having a steak.
We are going to do that. I'm going to make that happen for sure. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll have a chance to tee it up as well.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Drew Forrester from Drew's Morning Dish. Thanks again for spending some time with me right here on the Endless Golf Podcast. Until next time, so long, everybody.
The Endless Golf Podcast has been brought to you by Toyota.